Hi, students. Thanks for joining us. Today, as you know, we've got the Gender Box campaign briefing, so we're super excited to have you all sort of tune in. And presenting the briefing is Mbali Njomane, who is from the Dictionary platform. And Mbali is working with the UN Women in order to bring the the Gender Box campaign to you all. So Mbali, over to you. And as I've given you a heads up about, I'd love it if you could just introduce the Dictionary project a little bit, and and then sort of get started with the briefing. There's lots to talk through. It's a very exciting campaign opportunity, we're excited to hear more. Hopefully, we will have time for questions at the end. So, as stated, once the briefing is concluded, the students can also leave questions on the YouTube chat. And then we can also sort of pass those on to you. A little bit, it would be lovely to hear more about Dictionary, and then we can get going with the briefing.
Sorry, Mbali, we can't hear you yet.
Oh, you're still muted.
Murphy's Law.
There we go. And we're live. Super. Thanks, Mbali.
Thank you so much for that introduction, Micah. Hi, everyone. It's so lovely to be here today to share with you what I think is going to be a really epic campaign. Open Window is one of 4 schools that are working on this campaign with us, and it's called the Out the Gender Box Challenge. The other schools are AAA, Red and Yellow, and UJ. Officially, and there might be a couple more that join us along the way. So that's super exciting. Should create some healthy competition. And the winners to the challenge will not only get bragging rights for their school, I want to say upfront, but they also will be awarded a cash prize of 2,500 Rand. So the challenge itself is really simple, and I'll go into it just now after I introduce myself properly. But I just wanted to say upfront, it's a really simple challenge. However, it will help you a lot to kind of know the backstory of everything. So try to listen carefully and to take notes, and hopefully we'll have some time for a Q&A after the session. Okay, so I'll start off by giving you some background about myself and the project. I am Mbali, and I'm a social innovator, which just means that I really love to find creative solutions to social problems. I started a platform called Dictionary in 2019, and it's the world's first dictionary of stereotypes. And to kind of give you a sense of what it is briefly, although you will learn more about it as we go, it takes a stereotype like boys don't cry, or women are too emotional, or Black people are too loud, and it tells you what it means, why it's problematic, and also how it's used. So it's very similar to a dictionary entry in that way. And it's a really concise way for people to do some very important unlearning, especially in a world where we have such short attention spans. It allows you to kind of shift your consciousness in a really quick and digestible way. So the platform actually has been turned into a book, a series of books which will come out in 2023 worldwide, I'm really proud to say. But the first place that it ever lived was Instagram. And that's where we piloted the content, just to make sure that, you know, we had an appetite for this type of thing. And the feedback was overwhelmingly good. And we were lucky enough as well to get connected with United Nations Women. Now, United Nations Women is the body within the United Nations that champions gender equality in the nations of the world. So it's a global platform. And though it is called United Nations Women, its objective is really to champion and to facilitate progress and equality for all genders and all people. So I'm just going to go back and forth with my notes, because I just want to make sure that I don't miss anything. Right, so United Nations Women. Now, a big part of championing gender equality is obviously addressing gender stereotypes, which are particularly prevalent, as you'll know, in marketing and in advertising and in media. And so a few years ago, United Nations Women partnered with the global advertising industry, as well as major brands around the world, to form something called the Unstereotype Alliance, with the joint mission of putting an end to harmful stereotypes in all media and advertising content. And rather than going on and on about what the Unstereotype Alliance is, I'd actually like to show you a video that captures the spirit of the platform really well. So just give me 1 second to share my screen. A link to this video will also be available in the description of this YouTube stream, so you can check it out there as well a little bit later.
My name is Ben, and I'll be playing Useless Dad.
Receptionist.
Mother.
Mother.
Corner shop man.
Can you do it in an Indian accent?
Full shebang. He wants the paper as well, huh? No? Why not?
Mr. Jones's office. Hello.
90. Okay, yeah. Quick wash.
We've got pink sheets. Hair model.
Can you be a bit happier? Back a bit. Happier than that? Further.
I'm right by the wall.
Perfect.
Sorry, what do you want me to do?
I get called in to do sexy dancer type roles, but actually I trained at the Royal Ballet School and I'm a classically trained ballerina.
Maids, mothers, cleaners, hair, beauty, pretty girl, someone's girlfriend.
3 accountants, a drowning man.
I'm never the hero. I'm always sort of handing the hero a note.
I wish I could get the funny roles because I could do them.
Normally it's about my face, my hair and my body.
I never get to speak. I want to be able to speak.
I'm a fabulous, awesome black woman. I've never played a role like that.
Right, so hopefully that gives you a good sense of what the Unstereotype Alliance is about. Like I said, the link to the video is in the description, so you guys can check it out later as well. So this year, the Unstereotype Alliance in South Africa celebrates its 2nd anniversary, and to honor that occasion, it has partnered with my platform, Dictionary, to launch the Out the Gender Box campaign, which is a social media campaign to take creativity out of the gender box. The campaign will be hosted on Dictionary. So the first thing that you want to do to keep track of all the exciting things that will be happening in the next couple of weeks is to follow @Dictionary on Instagram, but I'll share the handle at the end of my presentation today. And there are 2 main elements to the campaign. The first is a series of Instagram lives with really cool creative leaders and pioneers in South Africa about taking the creative process out of the gender box. And so that'll be something really exciting going on for a couple of weeks through the duration of the campaign, which goes until May, for you guys to plug into, to really engage with the content and the spirit of what we are doing. The second and most important part of the campaign is the creative brief that we're sharing with schools and students like yourself around the country to produce Instagram content that takes creativity out the gender box. Okay, so now let's dig into the brief. I'm just going to share my presentation with you. For some reason,
Is it giving you some grief?
a little bit of grief, but I have faith that we will get there. Okay, that is so odd. It was literally right here. I'm so sorry, everyone.
No stress, Mbali, we've got time. And we all know the drill. It happens the moment you need it.
Literally the moment that you need it.
I've always said that technology has stage fright. So whenever we're getting ready for something online, especially, it just
absolutely,
happens.
absolutely. Okay, so I'm going to try to share my entire screen, but it's not giving me that option either.
Interesting. Okay. Could you do a window or a tab? Is that giving you that option?
It's giving me that option, but my presentation isn't showing up. I'm just going to try and open and close it.
Sounds like a good idea.
Yeah.
I see Michaela.
Oh, there we go.
Oh, great. Yeah.
Wonderful.
Okay.
Wait, I don't see it yet. Do you guys see it? There we go.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Success. Super.
Thanks for your patience, everyone. Okay. So, first of all, what do stereotypes have to do with creativity? So I think it first helps us to understand what stereotypes are, and what they are is mental shortcuts. And to kind of paint you a picture, I want to give you a digital metaphor, right? So if you think of your brain as a computer or an operating system, then stereotypes are like computer programs. Like computer programs, they expedite the way in which we process information and data, because if we had to process everything that we see and absorb at any given moment, all at the same time, our brains would actually shut down. And this was particularly valuable when we lived in the wild, and our literal survival relied on our ability to make split-second decisions at face value. And I suppose it was also a lot easier back then, because if you were being chased by a leopard, you don't really have time to think, am I maybe prejudiced towards leopards? Maybe this leopard doesn't want to eat me. Maybe this is a vegetarian or a metrosexual leopard. No, in the wild, you simply don't have that option. All your brain gives you is fight or flight. But we don't live in the wild anymore, or rather, maybe we live in a different kind of wild that requires us to be a lot more thoughtful about our interactions, right? Because nothing is ever really what it seems. And in particular, our first impressions about people are almost always wrong. And so in today's world, stereotypes can become almost like a computer virus. And these viruses are what I call STIs, or socially transmitted ideas. They're extremely contagious and very hard to get rid of. And we catch them from everywhere, from our families, from our friends, but most importantly for today, we catch them from the advertising and from media. And the reason that they're dangerous is because they run us. We don't run them. In other words, they take away our ability to think for ourselves. But again, what does this mean for creativity? Well, like I've said, the biggest problem with mental shortcuts is that they don't allow for authentic thinking. And all true creativity is at its core is authenticity. Another way to put it is stereotypes are the enemy of creativity because creativity is about out of the box thinking and stereotypes are about in the box thinking. So when we stereotype people, we put them in mental boxes, which causes us to miss the vast amount of potential that is inherent in every human being. And we squander heaps of beauty, genius, and creativity this way.
Sorry, Mbali, for interrupting. This is obviously amazing stuff so far. I just wanted to check if you are presenting the slides one by one on your side, because on our side, we're just still seeing the non-full screen view. So I just want to double check.
Yes.
Is it full screen from your side?
It is full screen on my side.
All right, let's just maybe try and view slideshow, see if that changes it.
Let me see. Oh gosh, that's very frustrating.
Do you mind going to, yeah, let's see, does that button, it might be opening in a new window for you. And I think that might be the situation where it's presenting a different window.
Okay, so I'm going to try present from beginning again, or are you still seeing?
Yes, so I think it might register it as opening up in a new window, which is not the window that you're presenting on Google Meet from our side. So I think you might have to present again on the Meet software and not from PowerPoint.
Oh, I see.
I think
Okay,
that might be it.
so let me try it one more time.
No problem.
Okay. So alternatively, it's not ideal. But if, okay, let me try this again. If you don't mind, then I can just go through it this way, which is not ideal because you can see everything.
The last thing I'd suggest is maybe look at the view option in your menu at the very top on the very right. I just want to see if it gives you, okay, no, I think, yeah, that's not going to necessarily do that. Okay, so I think that the issue is it's presenting this window, and when you go through PowerPoint and you click on present full screen or presenter mode, it opens on a new window. Does that make sense? So you would have to change the window that it's presenting. If it
I'm wondering at the bottom there's a bar with some icons where it says notes, comments, and then I'm wondering if the fourth
far
icon,
right.
yes, that's
one,
that's it.
yeah.
Let's see what happens when one clicks on that. I've got this feeling something might happen. Nope,
Nothing.
nothing is happening.
Not even the one on the far right.
Far right. So
next to the 70% on the right.
This one here.
Okay, yeah, feel free to continue.
All right. Okay. So the gender box challenge is about finding a more authentic and therefore more creative expression of our humanity outside of these mental boxes created by gender. And the creative brief asks you to answer this question, particularly in the context of your work as creatives. And the question is, how do we take creativity out of the gender box? And perhaps if I try to make that bigger for you. Now, the assignment or deliverable is for you to create at least 3 Instagram posts that answer the question and tag Prejudice Dictionary and your school with the hashtag #OutTheGenderBox. And just a tip from my side, to answer this question authentically, I often think that any creative process begins with the individual. So to answer any creative question, I think it's always helpful to look inward first. So I would start by asking myself the question, how do I take myself out of the gender box? And find the most creative expression of that. And I think that you'll find that once you've unlocked that within yourself, the creative ideas will start to flow more authentically. So I'd just like to take you through a few simple examples about giving away too many ideas. These examples I've taken off the internet just for illustrative purposes, but obviously your entries need to be original works. And please note that there is no limit to how much content you can submit, but to be eligible to win the prize, we're asking you to produce at least 3 Instagram posts. Now, in terms of the Instagram post itself, the content can literally be anything. It can be an image, a photo, a video, a poem, an infographic, whatever works best for your execution. But the examples that I'm going to show you are stills. And in the description of each of your posts, you should tell us the insights or the thinking behind your content. And then obviously with the hashtag out the gender box. But here I've just used a quote which I really like because I think it actually captures the spirit of the exercise really well. This quote is as follows: identity cannot be found or fabricated, but emerges from within when one has the courage to let go. And so you can use a quote in your caption as well, but please make sure that you do include some of your own words. Okay, so I'll take you through these examples. So you'll see in this one, I've tagged at Bridge Dictionary, and the school that I've tagged here, for example, is called A Dream of Africa. Now, these are pretty basic examples, and I know that you guys will come up with far more exciting ideas, but I just kind of wanted to give you a taste for the format.
I see someone actually asked whether it could be animated.
Yes, definitely can be animated. And I'll go through the winning categories just now because we want to give everyone a fair chance. Obviously, everyone has different strengths, and it's really important to acknowledge that, but absolutely can be animated.
Lovely.
This is my fave. This is a picture of, I think, Louis the 16th rocking leggings and high heels, as all very masculine men did back in his day.
Yep.
Okay, so those are just some of the examples. Right, so what happens once you have submitted the content? So the content will be presented to a panel of judges, including myself and one of the country's top creative directors, as well as a representative from the Unstereotype Alliance. We will then judge the content and select the winners in the following 3 categories. And like I said, we really wanted to play to everyone's strengths. So the first category is best creative idea, and that speaks primarily to the originality of your idea as well as the execution of your content. The second category is best thought starter, which speaks primarily to the depth and the novelty of the insight behind your content. So as you guys know, I'm sure, every creative idea begins with an insight about human beings or with a thought. And so best thought starters is really about how thought-provoking is your insight. And then importantly, your ability to spark a constructive conversation around that thought. And that's really important for it to be constructive because what we're trying to facilitate here is a positive dialogue. And I'll go through some of the prohibited content later on, but just to emphasize the fact that we want this to be a safe space and we want to facilitate positive dialogue. And then the third category is best conversation starter. And this speaks primarily to how many people you've managed to engage with your content. And then again, as well as your ability to spark a constructive conversation around it. So at the moment, we have 3 categories, which means there will be 3 winners, but we are working with some of our brand and agency partners to create something called a special hashtag, which will allow for even more winners. So this is something that you should look out for throughout the campaign. And what it is that it's a hashtag that will be sponsored by a brand or an agency who would like to join the Out the Gender Box challenge by asking Out the Gender Box question of their own with its own hashtag. As I said, these hashtags will allow us to award additional prizes to participants who create the best content in line with the brand's question. So for example, a brand like Nivea Skincare might ask a brand question like, how do we take beauty out the gender box, with the special hashtag beauty out the gender box. So those will be really cool to look out for throughout the campaign. And just important to note, participants can create content for as many hashtags as they like. So there really isn't a limit, again, to the amount of content that you can create. Okay, but what's the catch? There's always a catch, right? No, there really is no catch. That's it. It's pretty simple, although we do have a clear set of rules. So before you get creative, please ensure that you have registered and agreed to the terms and conditions of the campaign, which are available in the bio of Predictionary's Instagram account. And finally, some key things to note. The challenge kicks off on Tuesday, the 8th of March, 2022, which is today, and closes at midnight on Monday, the 9th of March, 2022.
Sorry, you mean May?
May.
9th of March.
I do mean May.
Like, yo, it starts today, it's closed tomorrow.
No, that would be unproductive and insane. Yes, thank you very much. Monday, the 9th of May, 2022 is when it closes. So hopefully that gives you enough time to grapple with the challenge and to create your content. Secondly, the winners will be announced in celebration of Youth Day on Thursday, June 16th, 2022. And then, as I mentioned earlier on, we really want this campaign to take place in the right spirit, as well as within the ethical guidelines of the United Nations. So there is prohibited content, and that content is content that is prejudice, degrading, mocking, rants and incitements to anger, obscene, defamatory, profane, threatening and or harmful in any other way. And the organizers reserve the right to disqualify or exclude such entries from the campaign at their discretion. And for me, you know, the most important thing to kind of underscore this is always to remember that there are no brave spaces without safe spaces. And so we really want to create a safe space for everyone to be a part of this and everyone to unlearn and to learn from one another. Okay, so that's more or less it on my side. Oh, the one other thing that I wanted to mention is that, so I mentioned that we're going to be having an Instagram live series alongside. Our first installment will be next week, Tuesday the 15th, with the 2 creative heads of Joe Public United, which is presently the country's #1 advertising agency. So we'll be chatting with Pepe and Polisa at Joe Public United about taking the creative process out the gender box. And I think that will be a really good conversation for you guys to plug into, just to begin to engage with this process. And I think that you'll learn a lot from it that you can use beyond just this campaign. So I will make sure that I share that information on the Predictionary Instagram page. And I'll make sure that I pass it on to your school to share on your school's Instagram page as well. And that's it for me. All of this information is available in a very detailed brief that you can access on Predictionary's Instagram bio. There's a link there for you. And so again, make sure you follow at Predictionary on Instagram. Otherwise, if you have any questions at all along the way, please feel free to contact me anytime. My email address is mbali@predictionary.com.
Great, super. Thanks so much, Mbali. That was great. I think everyone enjoyed those examples
Thank you
as
so
well.
much. I'm so sorry about the
no stress.
Not ideal presentation.
We've all been there, and we could still see everything perfectly, and we could still engage with the examples, so it's all in order. And like I said, you're most welcome to share the presentation with us, and we're going to share the video or the recording of this with the students again, so we can also include that when we share that. And we've also shared the brief with some of the students, so we'll keep sort of sharing that, so they've got access to everything. But I think let's have a look if there are some more questions, because it seems we do have a bit of time now. And it's always good to engage with the students' questions. I think already Lana addressed the question about whether or not the response can be animated. So that's been covered. I don't know if any students have further questions. Now is the time. So please make use of this time that we've got left. So that we can actually, while we've got Mbali to respond to the questions, that we can make the best of that. Let's have a look if anything's coming in. We've got one excellent in the chat there, Mbali, so I think it's going well. And the student said it's insightful, so I think there's a lot of excitement around the campaign already. I've got a question. I've got a question that while we're waiting to see if there will be further questions in the chat, I'm wondering if it can be, so obviously we've spoken about the various types of content that the students can come up with. What about sort of forms of content relating to sound, mostly where the emphasis is on sound, or perhaps even written content where it relates to coming up with the catchphrase and working with that? Is that also welcome?
Absolutely. There are no, apart from the ethical boundaries that I spoke about, which are in the registration form that the students can find in the @PrejuDictionary bio, there is no limit to the imagination. So whatever creative expression you find is exactly what you should share.
Good stuff. Nice. That's quite exciting. I think, they get to really embrace different approaches. One thing that you've mentioned to me before, the first time that we spoke about the brief, that stuck with me, that I think is just worth emphasizing, and you did mention this in the session now, but it's something to just highlight again, is that you said it's really the emphasis is on starting a sort of conversations, and that it's really the project's main focus is to initiate conversation. And it's not so much about having these beautifully refined posts. Obviously, we want them to look as great as they can, but it's mostly about sort of, having thought-provoking content and generating content that, inspires conversation. So can you elaborate on that a bit?
No, and I mean, I think that, the foundation of anything creative that we see begins with a thought. And if you really care about the people that you're creating for, it begins with a conversation. And that is the crux of what we're trying to do. Because we can create all of the amazing and beautiful content in the world, but if we don't facilitate conversation around it, then there's no kind of collective evolution that we have as a society and as human beings. And I think sometimes you can tell sometimes when a creative idea has been beautifully executed, but it's been created in a silo. It hasn't started with a conversation, and it hasn't had a conversation in mind. And so I urge the students to start. I think the most important conversation is also always with yourself. Always with yourself. So that's the very first conversation you want to be having. And that's why I said, start with the question, how do I take myself out the gender box? And then begin to share that conversation with people through your work. And that's why 2 of the categories we have are really around reach and engagement, because again, it is all about strengthening and facilitating the human conversation.
Great. No, for sure. That's an important thing to, like I said, to foreground. So thanks for expanding on that. Mbali, one of the students in the chat has also asked about, or sort of asked if they can check in with anyone, if they want to make sure that they are within sort of, that their work isn't offensive in any way.
Always.
You did share your specifics, so are they free to contact you if they want to do so?
Absolutely. You're free to drop me an email, or you can DM Bridge Dictionary as well. So yes, that's actually a really good point, and I'm always available for that.
You've opened the floodgates there, so you'll get a lot of DMs, I'm sure.
I'm here for it.
Good stuff. Okay, super. Beyond that, let's see.
There was a question about staggering. I think we've addressed the medium one, but the student was asking whether they have to stagger their posts or if the post can be one after the other.
So I think that to do justice to a creative idea, it helps to give it its own space. So I wouldn't suggest putting all of your ideas in one post, because I think people will miss them. So yeah, that's just from my perspective. I think it would be better to keep it at a creative idea per post.
For sure. And also perhaps to have space between posts to let people sort of engage with the posts and to consider them and to make space for that conversation to unfold.
And then for you to also immerse yourself in the conversation rather than just looking at it with a creative eye, I think is also fantastic.
Definitely. And then we had more questions about the different sort of approaches and mediums which we've touched on. So students were also just asking about illustrated type, but we've spoken about the fact that type is welcome. Beyond that,
likes.
Oh, likes. That's a good question, because sometimes likes is a currency, but I don't know if that's the case in this. For this, I would not think so. But it says here, how much impact will likes and shares on Instagram impact the judging? But you've shared your criteria, so maybe you can just link it back to.
So the only criterion that speaks to reach is the last one. So for best conversation starter, and that's the only time we'll take into account, obviously, how many people have seen your post and how many people you've been able to reach. So that'll be a combination, I guess, of how many people have liked it, as well as how many people have engaged. But we'll also judge that based on your Instagram following and your platform, right? So we want to make it fair. So we don't want somebody who happens to have 100,000 Instagram followers to win just off the basis of that, right? So we'll definitely keep that in mind.
Right. Okay, super. So no influencer advantages.
No.
And it's also nice. Yeah, I think what's quite interesting is to perhaps, I'm sure a lot of conversation will unfold on the chat as well, or on the comment section of a post. So that might be interesting to also keep an eye on for sure. Great. I think that covers the questions at this point. If anyone else has a question, now's the time to ask, so don't hold back. But while we're giving the students a gap to come up with more questions or to phrase their questions in case they have any, maybe, Lala, Yaku, Amy, I don't know if you can sort of think of potential questions that we can field.
I don't have any specific questions. I'm just excited about the things that people are going to get up to, because Mbali, some of the projects that students get to experiment with at Open Window are so experimental in terms of medium, and whether you sculpt something and photograph that, and whether you have something that is perhaps just blank with sound in the background. There's definitely a wide range of things. So I'm kind of daydreaming a little bit about all those things that are hopefully coming your way soon with this campaign.
Yes, I love that. Me too.
Yaku, do you have anything that you wanted to ask or find clarity on?
No, I'm good. That was a pretty detailed presentation. I see there are some more questions in the chat. Helena asked, is there a limit to the amount of content or ideas we can post? Like how many entries per person?
Nope, it's
as many as you are moved to create.
Endless entries, great.
Limitless entries. And then how detailed does the words under the post need to be from Koketso?
So just as a caption would explain an image or a photograph or a video, just a sense about, like I said, the thought, your thinking behind what you've posted. So again, it's almost like how long is a piece of string? It's entirely up to you.
Great. And I've got another question I thought of now. A lot of our students enjoy collaborating. So is there scope for students to collaborate and then to both share an entry? How does one approach that?
So you can, but then you've got to keep in mind that you will have to split the prize money.
Yes, take note. It does not mean that you both get the 2.5.
Yeah.
Great. Okay, fantastic. Then I think that's, we're getting some positive feedback. One of the students says, awesome. So I think there's a lot of excitement. Mbali, I think then that more or less covers it. As Jaco said, you were so detailed in your briefing that I think it seems that everyone's clear on what needs to happen or from where to take it. And from now, we'll all keep an eye on the hashtags. So that's quite exciting. And you said you would share some content with us. What was that? The Joe Public talk.
Yes. Okay. So I'll share the presentation again with you. And then the Joe Public talk, I think that's going to be a really good one just for the industry at large to start to engage with taking the creative process out the gender box. And we'll be having similar discussions, but I think that that's going to be our debut discussion. So that will be really great to plug into.
Fantastic. And remind us when that is taking place.
It's Tuesday the 15th, which is next week, Tuesday. So we're going to go live at 10:30, but if you're not available at 10:30, obviously it'll be there on Prejudice Dictionary's Instagram page for you to look at any time. But I will send you some material to post on the school social media, just as a reminder.
Fantastic. Thanks. That would be lovely. Yeah, just to remind the students, I think it would be quite valuable to tune in for that. And the questions aren't over. We've got 2 more questions. So we've got one of the students that's asking if the caption should be like an artist statement for the post. So I don't know if you want to expand on that a little bit. You already sort of described
it can be. It most certainly can be as well. So we're not going to be fussy about what the caption is. Just as long as it tells us a bit about what you were thinking, I think that's going to be the most important thing.
Fantastic. Great. And the students also asked if they may check in with their lecturers. So Lala has responded to that in the chat already. But yes, you may, and you also can directly email Mbali, as we've said. So you've got the email address. So either way is good. And I think then that pretty much concludes it. Mbali, thanks so much for taking the time to brief our students. We absolutely appreciate it. And I think everyone can, there's a lot of excitement around this. And we're really excited to be on board with this alongside Red and Yellow, AAA, and University of Johannesburg. And we can't wait to see what the students make. So we will also keep a close eye on it. And I'm sure we will sort of be in touch again soon at some point.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. I'm rooting for everyone. We'll chat soon.
Perfect.
Bye.
Thanks so much. Cheers, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.